What's going on, Los Angeles, Bruin Nation, LAFB fam? How we doing? The Thriller and Madman back together again for all of your UCLA football needs. And we're still riding the high from Saturday when Will and I were delirious doing that show. And we couldn't wait. Of course, the man of the hour, the man, the myth, the legend. We had to have the Silver Fox graze our presence. The one and only, the legendary Wayne Cook. Wayne, so great to see you after a few days. And my goodness, what a few days it's been.
Well, thanks, you guys. I always appreciate when you have me on. It was because we just talked like a week ago, right? And there was a lot of doom and gloom, but we saw some hope in the second half of the Northwestern game. And then, the news of Jerry, we were all hopeful because I think every Bruin fan, I've never heard anybody say anything bad. I don't think I've heard anybody ever say anything bad about Jerry Neuheisel, including players that he's coached. So to me, that was the unknown. And what's scary is I remember kind of apologizing because I felt bad because my prognostication felt like it was so far off. But I'm like, it hurts my head because of 24 years of covering UCLA football. I would think that I would be able to look at the talent on a team and go, and know if they're horrible or close or whatever. And after camp, it didn't feel like it should have been as bad as it turned out. And so after watching the game against and I know they've dropped a lot in the rankings. I think they even dropped out of the top 25. But Penn State was a top 10 team. Penn State was a team that took Oregon, who was a top 3 team. I forget where they're at right now, to overtime. So it's not like Penn State went from, being that bad that quick. So I assume they're going to win some more games to get right back in there. But I think we learned that UCLA did have more talent than we thought. That game was not a fluke. You can cancel out the special teams. The onside kick was great, but they also blocked a kick. So those kind of cancel each other out. And the rest of the game was just a football game. It wasn't like there was anything crazy. It was just UCLA won. They just every time that Penn State tried to come back in that game, UCLA had answers. And then, mentioning Jerry again, the offense, I believe it scored 57 points in all the games combined and scored 42 in this game. So, I mean, come on, it's the same players. I mean, why am I as a broadcaster asking, and again, I hope I'm going to make this clear on the show. Tim Skipper, they should have been shouting Skipper right after they did the Jerry, because Tim Skipper has been amazing. And then there should have been some Kevin Coyle. I mean, those don't work as good as Jerry because we all love the, Jerry Springer. It's very easy. But all these additions and that UCLA has actually not given up on the season and brought in Noel Mazzoni, brought in, Kevin Coyle, brought in people to help, to me is awesome. And then the players that didn't quit, that kept playing, that the joy that I saw after the game on the sidelines, the bear hugs I received from completely sweaty, gross offensive linemen. Giorgio, I love you, but I had to shower for at least 20 minutes just to get it off. No, I'm joking, Gary. But I did. I mean, it was so much fun, you guys. So I know we have a lot to unpack. I know I have a lot to talk about, but it was nice for the players to have some confirmation to kind of to let them know, hey, we're really better than the way we played. And so that to me is what makes me really, really excited because now think about this. Kevin Coyle and Jerry Neuheisel have only been at the job for a little bit, right? And I know other teams are going to scout us now, but yeah, we're also going to be tinkering and adding and changing. And so, and we probably don't talk about this enough either. While the offense did what they did, man, there is noticeable difference in the defense. They're way more sound with their assignments. Tim Skipper told me today, we started with people's stances. That's what Kevin Coyle did. He's like, coming. And remember, Skipper's an old linebacker, right? Oh, yeah. They started with, it was almost like he was telling me, like, it's almost like when John Wooden used to have the guys tie their shoes right the first day because he was trying to show the team that every little detail matters. they started working on stances and alignment. He mentioned things like gap integrity. He mentioned things like all these little things in the first couple of games. I'm like, what are we doing? How are we losing contain against Utah on every play? What the heck are we doing wrong? And against Penn State, yeah, there was moments, but man, it was like they're good. They're good, and yet we got beat on someplace. So what? But it wasn't as much because we were missing tackles. We were out of position. So you can see on both sides of the ball the growth, which should make all of us excited. Now, I'm not saying it's all going to be perfect from here on out, but I expect us to be way more competitive.
No, that's really well said, Wayne. And I have a question that I want to pose to you both. But before I do, Wayne, I just want to ask you this. In terms of, obviously, you were on the sideline. You were in the locker room after the game. Just share a little bit about the energy of the team, how much they sort of needed this moment, what their reaction was. And then for you, having covered the team for 24 years, having played on the biggest of stages, for you, where does this rank amongst UCLA upsets, improbable games, exciting moments?
Well, it's one of the best ever. But remember, we have a school, you guys, that for some reason, no matter how much the national media and the national narrative likes to tear us down, this is one of the biggest upsets in a long time. And we also have two of the biggest comebacks of all time. It's like, UCLA, you're not, yeah, we are. We have had really good football. We have Hall of Famers. We have Super Bowl champions. We have, still as rough as it's been, we still are a top 20 all-time AP rankings team. Like, it's not like we're as bad as people make us out to be, but we are still 1-4. So yeah, I get that part. Yes, I said that right. Again, you guys remember, 8th grade teacher, sometimes I have to check my brain and make sure I'm saying things correctly. But yeah, it's one of those things that, I still think UCLA is a fantastic program. But, and I'll give you an example again from my playing days. My first year, we lost my first year as a full-time starter. Well, the first year I got hurt, but like the year we won the championship, we lost to Cal by 2 and Nebraska by 1. And we ended up beating like San Diego State, BYU, Washington. And then all of a sudden, like, we really started to believe with a couple of these big wins that we were good. So the psychological part of it, like for this team, you just beat a top 10 team. It was easy to say they were good coming out of camp, but you don't really know. Sometimes that's fake bravado type stuff. Like, look, we're good. We're going to beat everybody. We're going to compete for our playoff berth. And then you start getting your butts kicked. And then you really have to check yourself and see but I love that we heard this over the weekend that Nico, I think he said this in his post-game press conference. Nico flat out told the team, and again, I said the same thing, to a lot of people. I said, I don't want the players that don't want to play to stay. I don't want the players. I want the players that want to be here to play. And I felt strongly about that. I don't want a bunch of guys going through the motions. The second half of that stinking New Mexico game makes me sick still to look back on. And I get it. Sometimes as athletes, things get away from you and you lose it. But I wanted guys that wanted to compete. And when Nico looks at the team, a guy that had dealt with so much adversity, that has, every time he does anything wrong, they have every Tennessee fan across the country going, yeah, you made a bad decision and we got the best quarterback out of the deal and all that crap. Nico Iamaleava had as good a game as I have seen all year on a national stage. He's a tough SOB. The guy absolutely has been all year too. Us losing has not been his fault. And now we're probably learning that the play calling has limited him too, because that's what he should look like. I'm not saying he's going to look like it in every game, because counting for 5 touchdowns is not something that happens very often. But man, we got to see the real Nico in this game, and we got to see him with calls that were being made that fit this team and this talent. So again, I've already gone off on like 16 tangents, which is what I always do with you guys. But it's the between the ears part that matters to me. We'll circle all the way back to that. They now can go into a game going, listen, we can compete against some of the top recruits and one of the top teams that everybody was talking about as being a national championship contender this year. Okay. And I know they've lost a couple in a row, but that was still a very good football team. And so now they're going to have that belief, and I think that will pay off going forward.
No question about it, Wayne. Thriller, anything you want to add before I want to sort of ask you both a really important question? Go for it, Thriller.
Yeah, Wayne brought up Nico and his performance. I've got a question for this because I've covered UCLA for 5 years. I've been a fan for a long time. Wayne, where does this rank in the greatest quarterback performances in the blue and gold? Because what I saw on Saturday was an 0-4 team that had lost their head coach, OC, and DC. And this guy, for my money, Wayne, I've watched a lot of college football this year. I think he may have had the greatest individual quarterbacking performance, not just in the Big Ten, but maybe the country, when you count for what he did. 295 yards of total offense, turnover-free football, and 5 touchdowns, 128 yards on the ground. Gary Danielson said it best that Madman and I were talking about. It looked like goddamn Vince Young out there in the Rose Bowl in 2006.
Yeah.
And if that's a
good
USC
point.
fans, good. This is a UCLA show. We're going to bring that back to the national championship. But talk to me, because I got Rosen at Texas A&M up there. There's some Brett Hundley performances in there as well. Where does this rank? Because to me, in the last 20, 25 years, I think it's got to be number one, given the top 10 upset that just occurred this weekend.
So it's great. I'm not going to go as far as you're going to, because I've seen better passing performances, like quite a bit better. I think that what he did with his legs would be right up there. Right up there. You mentioned Brett Hundley. We had some games where DTR did some amazing things too.
Yeah.
When people forget, and I'm older than you guys, but like Kate McNown had multiple.
Yes, sir.
I mean, the puke game, the SC game, to me, and those were against SC, so that's why they're going to win. You could go back and talk about, any of us that beat the Trojans to win a championship, and I'll include myself in that one. I'll call it the bruised kidney, piss and blood game from 1993 that I couldn't even stand up after the game. May not have been heroic on the. And by the way, I'm not saying I deserve the top ranking. I'm just saying that there's a lot of them that were in more important games.
There was a good one. Drew Olson too comes to mind. Wayne,
Drew
5
Olson,
touchdowns, Arizona State.
Hey, the cardiac kid. That year, that
05.
team was insane. That was insane. Remember, the Stanford game from that year was incredible.
Yeah, even that Cal game was unreal.
The counter to that was how many top 10 teams were those, though?
No, you're right.
That's my only counter. That was a legit team that came in. So Arizona State's great. I went there, but they were in the top 10 that year. You know what I mean? So,
No. I'm with you, but again, there's probably been historically. Again, this also happened fairly early in the season. That's kind of it was a great game, but there's been quarterbacks that have thrown for close to 400 yards and done some pretty amazing things too. So I would have liked to see a little bit more passing yards to make it the greatest of all time. But I will say this: I love your Vince Young. I love your Vince Young comparison. Now, Vince Young was a bigger man. I got to meet him at the Rose Bowl a few years ago. And by the way, I should tell you guys this. I always love to brag about these things. I've been a very lucky sports fan because I got a ticket. I went by myself to the Texas USC game. I went by myself. And I was sitting with a bunch of SC people, and I'm like a former UCLA quarterback, and I was cheering hard for Texas to beat USC that day. And by the way, if you remember that game, which was great for Vince Young, USC should have won that game going away. Yes. They were cocky. They should have been running the ball more. They got cute and they lost. But Vince Young is a big human being. That's what I was trying to say. And so when I see Nico, sometimes I'm like, God, these guys are tall. And if you see his long run, his 50-something yard run where he does the spin move,
unreal.
That's not normal. That's not normal for a guy his size to be able to move like this. But I want to add, by the way, I'm not trying to steal your thunder. I'd probably put that in that top 10 range. It was an amazing game. It really was. I've been around long enough to, I've seen some others that I'd have to go back and watch the tape.
It's all opinion based, but at least for me in the last 20 years, there's a couple that come to mind. I would put that at the top. That's how special I thought that game was.
Well, I love it. I do want to add this though, because I think this is important. I was beyond impressed, so I'm with you. Nico's been playing hard all year,
Yeah.
We haven't given him an opportunity to be himself. Even in the Northwestern game, because they had such little time. And again, we still hadn't made the offensive coordinator change, and Tim Skipper was just starting to kind of, get his head around what the team was doing. That game was much better in the second half, but Nico still wasn't being released the way he was with Jerry. Jerry, trust me, Jerry Neuheisel has been watching this team all year. I guarantee you he was going home every day going, this is what I would do. Because anybody who aspires to be the play caller does that. This is what I would do. This is what I would do. We just got to see all those nights where he's been thinking about this is what I would do, and it was a lot of quick passes. When Nico had his best runs, it wasn't planned runs. He did have some good planned runs too, but it was scrambles. And if you really think about a dual threat, a really good dual threat quarterback, the best kind, they're throwers, but when they need to take off and use their legs, they do. And think about those third downs when he took off and used his legs. I mean, it was very – again, I always bring up Andrew Luck whenever I think about a quarterback that could take off and get yards whenever he needed to. And I know there's been a lot of other ones that I've watched. But, man, he was so maddening, Andrew Luck was, because he would always pick up the yards when he needed it, throwing or passing. That felt like what Nico was doing. And you started to get a glimpse of, and this is where you're going to get crazy, Will. I think he's going to have better throwing games than he had.
I do too. I
think he's going to have those 250 to 3 because now, first of all, Rico's made a big difference.
Onside kick recoverer too. We got to bring that up.
He's a professional. He's a professional receiver. Like he's the type of guy. When I say by that, I'm not talking about necessarily talent wise. He's just one of those guys that's always open. It seems you don't have to worry about him catching the ball. Like he just feels like ever since he's been back in, and I know Northwestern wasn't the greatest, but he mattered. Now he takes a little pressure off Quasi. Then Titus gets involved. Now you're starting to have more receivers in there. I think Rico's really added something. So I think that is going to help. Jack Peterson had 2, and Jack, I love you. I swear, those were going to be great catches. But, man, he was covered. So I don't know if he should have been the guy that was throwing the ball to, but he had 2 that hit his hands, where it could only have been thrown where it was thrown because it was into coverage. And I bet you Jack right now is going, man, I should have caught those. So there were some moments. The Anthony Woods, which was a great call against the defense on 4th down.
Yeah.
That wasn't the greatest of throws by it was he had to kind of sidearm it around the guy, but it hit him on the back hip and it kind of threw Anthony off balance. That would have been he could probably thrown that one a little bit more.
That might have been a touchdown. If he had him in stride, that might have been a touchdown.
So this is when the quarterback gurus all go, did you see how he dropped down and threw it around a guy? Well, he's 6'6". Just flop it over the top of him, right? And you throw it with touch, and you give him a chance, to catch it and run. So there are some things, but really, really good game. What he did with his legs, his timing of when to make plays mattered so much because great quarterbacks, you look back at their careers, and they're the ones that make the plays when it matters the most. Not the guys that fill stat sheets. Their yards matter. Like Nico's run, all of his runs mattered. They mattered. They impacted the game. So, again, I'm talking myself into moving him up the list a little bit, but it's because I know that I think he can get more out of the passing game. And when I think quarterback,
totally,
I want to see those numbers. Like I was joking around. I'm going to brag about myself a little bit more. I had against BYU in '93. I had 4 touchdowns and I ran a touchdown. It was a 2-point conversion in 1 half.
Wow.
And they were ranked in the top 25.
Wait, let me rephrase that. Is it the second greatest performance?
No, I don't get any of them. You guys give me a chance to brag a little bit. So I'm just trying to say that even a lowly Wayne Cook from back in the day could do some things like that. So I think Nico's got more in front of him. I think he's got more. I think he's got more.
Wayne, you're not. Wayne,
Ty Detmer was a little bit older than me.
You're shortchanging yourself, Wayne. We have stopped doing this for the last few weeks. We will restart doing this, as you know, Wayne, as the OG quarterback to beat USC back-to-back years. Okay, so we're going to reintroduce.
All over the mountains, baby.
I can hit you in the face with a steak, but that's about all I can do.
Wayne, it's so interesting. Both of you guys bring up such a great point about Nico's style and how he impacted the game and being a dual threat. And obviously that sort of iconic run at the end of the game, felt very Vince Young-esque, based on Gary Danielson. But I'll tell you guys what I saw in terms of this sort of style and this offense. It reminded me of Louisville 2017, 2018 with Lamar Jackson. This feels like a system. The way Louisville ran their offense in 2017 with Lamar Jackson feels like what Jerry Neuheisel is doing moving forward with Nico. And I mean, even that spin was very Lamar-like, when you sort of look at the elusiveness, because when you add these shifty, twitchy receivers, now you got 3 or 4 of them. Rico just knows how to get open. Titus knows how to get open. Quasi knows how to get open. Matthews is a slot guy. Especially when you've got challenges still on the offensive line, that ability to get the ball out quick with guys that can create space. Now you're in second and short. Now you're in third and short. And now the whole playbook opens up and you can be dual threat. So to me, moving forward, I see an identity here, Wayne, where this offensive system feels a little bit like what Louisville ran those 2 years with Lamar Jackson. And I think it's stylistically, they're different players, but stylistically, there's a lot of similarity there.
So it's funny because my great broadcasting partner and Rose Bowl champion quarterback, Matt Stevens, he's been joking around with her, like throwing around, like he's going to start calling him Lamar XL, like the bigger version. And I thought about it. I want to tell him, I go, man, it sounds a little bit too much like an adult entertainer, so I'm not sure if you should go that route. But he's just... I'm sorry, you might have to cut that out. But the idea is that he has you're watching him move, and he's got way more speed than you would think.
Right.
To be able to spin like he does and keep your balance is amazing. But what he also has, which I love, he's got a good tall quarterbacks that tend to run too upright. Right. He has a good forward lean when he runs. He is not afraid of contact. Like when they were on that power quarterback lead that they scored one of the touchdowns on, that is a great play. I've seen it a couple times this year, and I'm like, they just kind of lead with a running back, and he just catches it and goes. I mean, when he gets moving, because he doesn't like tiptoe, he goes. So like that to me is extraordinarily exciting. But I'm going to add something here, you guys. None of this works in the brilliance of this game plan. And that we started talking about this. I swear I asked Tim Skipper about it. I go, Coach, this was the week before, right after the Northwestern game. I go, Coach, how are these running backs going to get anything going?
Right.
If all we're doing is giving them 3 or 4 carries a game. I mean, at most 5 or 6. I go, it's crazy. I go, I watch a quarterback get an 8-yard run and he's pumped up and you take him out. And he looked at me and he goes, and I think I told you guys this last week. He said, we had a meeting about that this morning. Like everything Coach Skipper is absorbing, he's attacking it. He's like, this is crazy. Like he saw it. He said, we already talked about it and it's going to change. He goes, we were doing so much RPO that maybe, this is exactly what he said. He said, maybe we need to start actually calling some just flat out run plays. How about it? And then today he was talking about how he made sure guys got series. Guys got more reps. But if you watch the game, it was more Anthony Woods and Javion Thomas at the beginning.
Yes.
And they both averaged over 4 yards a carry. Jalen Berger was taking a step back. You even saw Anthony Frias a little bit. Then, this is what I love. When Jalen Berger started getting some opportunities, his first run or so, I was like, eh. And then all of a sudden, he was running hungry.
Yes.
Like, I need to make sure they're not going to play me anymore. And he ended up with over 5 yards a carry by the end of the game. And you can see a difference because now you've got these really good backs that are getting more opportunities, but now they're fighting for carries. And you saw Frias in there quite a bit too. And some 2-back sets. I mean, they really, in a short period of time, they made so many changes, but you'd be kidding yourself if the key to the whole game against Penn State wasn't the run game. Yep. We can give Nico all the credit in the world. The line was better. The run game was better. And then the passing game, because everything was getting out quick, was better. But it's all predicated on being able to run the ball. We have been so one-dimensional that it's been pathetic, and it's hurt Nico. With that run game being established, it's going to only help him.
Well, 53 carries on the ground to 24 throws, Wayne, to your point. Yep. And so there was an emphasis early. It was interesting because it was kind of this U curve, right, where it was really balanced early, and then it got kind of it was really run heavy early, I should say. Then it was super balanced in the middle of the game, and then it got run heavy late. One of the crazy stats was UCLA had 8 passing yards the entire second half of this game and still managed to maintain that lead after that block punt. I mean, it was absolutely remarkable, to your point.
And really, again, that comes back to what I'm talking about. As a quarterback, your job is to win any way you can. Yep. If it's with your legs and your arms, it doesn't matter. It's like it's so. But that's hard to imagine, right? And you just told me something that I wasn't even. I didn't even think about that But think about if you're those offensive linemen.
Oh, yeah.
Think about if you're a Unije who we all saw. He was having a hard time, and he always does, by the way. He does not, I don't know, his legs don't match his knee braces, but they're always off. They're always falling down. Or he took it and threw it so far off the sidelines and then proceeded to block his guy, which is a really good player for Penn State, like he's been doing it his whole life.
Yeah.
But when the O-line is experiencing what they experienced, their confidence grew tenfold in that game.
No question.
I mean, it was one of those things that you talk about the run game in the second half. Like they had to still make plays. They still had to do things. They still had to clear, because there was a lot of crazy stuff that happened when they got back to within 6. I mean, we all were doing it, right? We're like, oh no. How do we get to this point? And then this team with these new coaches and this new mindset found ways to keep making enough plays.
Yes.
But man, the offensive line, I guarantee you, they're confident. Sam, you and I saw early because we've been talking about highest graded center.
Yes.
I mean, the middle of the week before, I'm like, man, the pocket's collapsing. Sam Yoon played great. The whole offensive line played great. And when they do that, everything else tends to click. But don't kid yourself. It's because of the run game. It's because of the quick passing game. It's because of the quarterback runs, because now you have to keep a guy in spy sometimes. All of that stuff prevents them from just bringing the house, which always makes offensive line look bad.
Yep.
Oh, and by the way, we also used the backs to chip, and we did some other things to really. It was just smart. It was just such a smart game plan.
We've alluded to it, and I want to sort of get there. Tim, you've mentioned, Wayne, that with Tim Skipper, it's felt different the last few days in terms of the energy, some of the conversations you've had, just the level of preparation, as well as obviously with Jerry, with Coyle. I want to go there because we had said just 7 or 8 days ago. I mean, this is sort of the nature of this season. I mean, we've gone from losing at home by 25 to New Mexico to beating Penn State. And so all the narratives are literally on their head. We were on this show, Wayne, 8 or 10 days ago saying, I just don't think the optics and the politics and the circumstances would allow for Tim Skipper to be a viable candidate to get this job long term. Now, this is one game. Things can change, and we're sort of riding the momentum here. But Adam Peters, the general manager of the Washington Commanders, who arguably I think is the most powerful football voice that the chancellor is going to receive based on this committee and based on everyone that's around him. Adam Peters was at the game. The Commanders were playing the Chargers. This is the only time all season that Adam Peters is going to be at a game live at UCLA, and he saw Tim Skipper coach his tail off and upset Penn State and have one of the biggest upsets in college football the last 10 years. Is there a scenario now moving forward when you look at this schedule and how this schedule lays out? Look, I still think there's 2 games that are just too far out of the realm of reality for me personally, at Ohio State, at Indiana. Yeah. To me, those 2 are just, those receiving cores, those teams, those lines on the road, that just feels very unattainable. But when you take those 2 games out of the equation, on the road, Michigan State have not won a game in the Big Ten yet. Home for Maryland, home for Washington, home for Nebraska, and then you got the Victory Bell game at the end. If Tim Skipper goes 5-4 or 6-3, and let's say he beats Michigan State and Washington, guess what? He will have beaten Jonathan Smith. He will have beaten Jed Fish. He will have beaten the coaches that were so desirable to this fan base just 18 months ago. If Tim Skipper takes this team to 5-7, or if they get to bowl eligibility and 6-6, which would require then beating SC and getting to 6-3, is there a world where Tim Skipper is the long-term head coach of UCLA moving forward, where you say Tim Skipper embodies so much of what UCLA is, the underdog, the person that's been counted out their whole career? Ben Bolch had a great piece on this, and he embodies that Bruin spirit unlike any other. And do you potentially complement Tim Skipper with Jerry as offensive coordinator, and you keep the coaching staff, or maybe you go after a Tony White as your defensive coordinator, make him one of the highest paid defensive coordinators in college football, which is still going to be a discount compared to what you would need to do for the coaches. You got two Bruins as your coordinators. You got Tim Skipper as the head coach. Is this the Ed Orgeron model that USC didn't execute on for UCLA moving forward? Is there a world that Tim Skipper has a viable path to be the head coach moving forward? Thriller, I'll start with you and then go to Wayne.
Yeah. You know what? I would have probably called you crazy coming into this weekend, just given the circumstances. But there's three things that I saw. It was effort, it was intensity, and punching above your weight class as a team. And they did all of that this weekend in spades. And just how hard this team got together and played after that first month of a season. It's clear Tim Skipper has rallied these guys, has motivated these guys, and brought together a brotherhood of kids that wants to win for the UCLA fan base. And that's all we want, right? The spirit of football, the spirit of playing your heart out each and every Saturday. We may not win every game, but if we're in the game and we do all the little right things, you can at least hang your head and be proud of the fact that UCLA gave it their all. And Skipper, you know, talk about a selfless guy. I mean, Jerry Neuheisel's the guy in the press conference after the game. He's just kind of just happy for the kids. And you can tell he's a lifer football coach because he's doing it for the love of the game, and he's not doing it for the attention and the accolades you can get. So from a man standpoint, from how these players react to him and how we punched above our weight class, I mean, come on, guys. This is our first top 10 victory since Kevin Prince beat Texas in 2010. This is huge.
Wow.
Tim Skipper, if he keeps up like you said, if he beats SC, you know, at the end of the season, we're bowl eligible. This is a real conversation we could be talking about down the line. So it's a wait and see for me, but he's moving in the right direction each and every week if he keeps this up.
So for me, I mean, obviously we're all aware that we're being very reactionary. So we're all acknowledging that. We're all riding the high.
Absolutely.
This was amazing. We're also all acknowledging that Tim Skipper has come into our lives and we're in love with the guy. He's the easiest guy to like in the world. I mean, I was hugging him. I had my arm around him when we were doing the post-game interview after the game, and I don't know if I should have done that, but it just felt like it was like the thing to do. I was way too excited. I mean, and his answers are so thoughtful, and I mean, I ask him so many football questions, like just even earlier today, and when we're taping our weekly coaches show, he's incredible. He's absolutely incredible. Like the way he answers questions, the way he understands the game. He understands what the players are going through. You said it. He doesn't seem to care that the crowd was chanting Jerry, Jerry, Jerry. And again, for all Bruin fans out there, I mean, this is Jerry, this is Kevin Coyle, this is Jerry Neuheisel, but it's also all the other coaches that are hanging around and giving it everything they've got. So it's been really cool that he's galvanized this group in such a short period of time. I'm also going to go back to Adam Peters, who I've known for years. He's been on UCLA sidelines many times, back to his scout days. And I love him. I absolutely love the guy. I'm so proud of what he's become. We've had so many great conversations, and I will tell you that we had a really good one. I'm not going to tell you what we talked about, but I'm going to tell you we had a really good conversation that should make Bruin fans pretty pumped up. It really should. I believe this. I believe that he believes it, and I believe it, that the school cares about athletics. And that matters. And if the school cares about athletics and is willing to spend money and invest in athletics, and you just mentioned we have some pretty bright people on this committee, you don't think that as the season progresses, because this is a terrible situation. And for Tim Skipper and the staff to right the ship for one game is one thing. But man, if they right the ship for the rest of the year and they start pulling off wins, like again, Jamal, shame on you for ruling out wins against Indiana and Ohio State. But because we ruled out the win against Penn State too, let's be honest, that was one that we had already kind of pushed to the side. But I get what you're saying. I mean, those are really, really good football teams, and we're going to have to keep getting a lot better in a short period of time. But also the idea that the Big Ten is got a really heavy middle part of the conference. That in 1 week, UCLA showed that it could be a part of instead of being a bottom feeder. They showed that now maybe our talent isn't as bad, and maybe just an insurgence of coaches calling the right plays and doing the right things and adding a little bit more to this, that this team can compete. So yeah, Michigan State's a big deal. It's a huge validation game. It's like, okay, UCLA, let's go on the road.
Yes.
Let's play it at 9 a.m. our time, 12 a.m. there. Okay, and let's go. 12 a.m. I see what I did there. 8th grade. It messes with my head sometimes. 12 noon. Okay, and it's tough. We've learned this year. Nobody likes to hear travel as an excuse, but travel's been real. Teams going on the road have struggled. I mean, the numbers bear that out. And so this is a big one. You've got to back it up. That team, that Jonathan Smith's a good coach. They're going to watch the game and see what they're going to already start picking up on what Jerry Neuheisel is doing. Hey, they do this here, they do that there. How are we going to deal with Nico? They're going to have a game plan now. This game was kind of a lot of unexpected stuff.
Right.
Okay. They're going to get used to what Kevin Coyle's doing. Now they have 2 weeks of kind of seeing what the defense is doing and how to attack it. So UCLA, on the other hand, also has only had those coordinators for a short period of time. So they're going to be able to add some wrinkles too. So it's going to be fun to watch. But here's what I'm doing if I'm on the committee. I'm evaluating everybody. If we have a chance to go out and get the next Kenny Dillingham or someone along those lines that's going to come in and bring, and again, I know all the people out there on social media and all the people on the discussion board, you already have your list. You do this every time. You make your list, and then if it's not on the list, you get mad. Like, oh, why'd they pick someone not on my list? Well, because maybe there's other people out there that you don't know about. And maybe some of the people on your list don't want to come to UCLA. Not everybody's a fit. But if Tim Skipper is winning a whole bunch of football games, you got to put him on the list because of this situation was so dire. We were talking about being one of the worst UCLA teams of all time. Okay, mostly because of the last couple of losses before Northwestern. But it was like, come on. And so if he does everything you guys talked about, yeah, he makes the list, but that doesn't mean he's a guaranteed choice. So it's going to be, again, I trust the people on the committee. I really do. I'm hopeful that what I'm hearing about Julio Frank and about the people in charge, that there's going to be an investment in athletics, especially football. And if that happens, you guys, there's no reason why UCLA can't make that climb pretty quickly and get back to relevance again. Okay, I don't want to get carried away and start talking about too big of stuff, but I'm talking about relevance. I'm talking about like that 8, 9, 10, 11 range every year where you're 8 when it's not good and you're 9, 10, 11 and playing for a playoff when it is good. I think that that's something that's possible. But again, a long-winded answer where I didn't say yes, but he should be on the list.
Right.
I mean, he should be on the list, but if things go south, then we already have a plan for what's next. So
if this is a fluke sort of situation and this team ends, 2-10, and that was the one game, obviously. But if this is a galvanizing moment, and Wayne, to your point, and Thriller, I'll come to you right away here. But if this is a galvanizing moment, I think this Saturday is so big because it puts stomps whether or not that was a fluke. Yep. You caught Penn State across the country, hangover from Oregon, not taking the game seriously. If you come 9 a.m. East Coast into East Lansing, a very difficult place to play, against a coach that has sort of been a darling of the UCLA fan base over the last 18 months, and you win that game, and now you're 2-4. And oh, by the way, as bad as things are, I think fans forget 3 of the 4 losses are non-conference. I mean, there's only one conference blemish right now. There's a world where they come in on Saturday and win. It's 2-1 in the Big Ten, and you're sort of in the upper echelon of the Big Ten with a very attainable games. If this effort and this intensity and this enthusiasm and this passion and this discipline, look, the one thing we're not also talking about, under 40 penalty yards over the course of the game. I mean, this particular discipline, I just feel I have a hard time believing, and anyone can tell me otherwise, and I just won't believe it, that they cannot compete against Michigan State, Maryland, Washington, Nebraska, and USC. These are all very competitive games. And if they find a way to finish those games, even if one of those games goes south and he goes 5-4, but they're rejuvenated, I mean, my goodness, to your point, Wayne, it's got to be in consideration and a serious consideration at that. Thriller, over to you.
Yeah, and Wayne, we'll get you out on this question. This has been so much fun recapping, to me, one of the best victories in UCLA in the last 15, 20 years. 2-part question here. What were you most impressed with Jerry calling the offense his first game? Because we scored 14 points against Northwestern the week before, and we hung 42 on Penn State. And the second part of that question, you have a relationship with Noel Mazzoni. You've been with the program for a long time. He's with UCLA. He's with ASU. You had a cup of coffee at Texas A&M. How much of a help is Noel Mazzoni in aiding the offense with Jerry Neuheisel at the helm?
So I talked with – I'll start there. I talked with Jerry after the game. It was great. I mean, I love it when we win because I get a million interviews, and it's always fun to talk to everybody. And Jerry was so humble and so – like, he gave everybody else credit but himself, which is great because now we have Tim Skipper doing that. We have Jerry Neuheisel doing that. Players, I mean, Nico was humble. Garrett DeGiorgio was humble. Like, it's really pretty cool because I think we forget that even after all these players have gone through, that this still matters a lot to them, and it matters a lot to these coaches. Noel Mazzoni, I'll tell you a little funny story. During the game, he's running out, and I see him, and I kind of look at him, and I go, You guys really stink at this. I mean, because we had that big lead, and he looked at me and he goes, "Yeah, we suck." I go, that's the greatest. Because Noel has always been this calm, cool, and collected guy. He's just like, I know football. You can see it in his, and it's just who he is. And what's really great is when I mention him to Jerry, and I always question giving someone, well, what about Noel? Because this was Jerry's day. Noel was standing behind Jerry. He was there. He's still learning the offense. He's still learning the terminology. He's still, but he was totally involved though. Noel was into it. I mean, he was getting excited for the team. He was into it. But when I asked Jerry about it, he lit up. His eyes got big. He's like, man, I love Noel. He's one of my favorite people in the world. He's my mentor. He coached me. He's like, so I think that was like, it's just like the world just kind of worked at that moment where those two could be together because, Noel was available. And I already told you guys, I was talking to Grayson Mazzoni. He's like, my dad wants to help. And I'm like, I know. I go, I guess there's an analyst position open. And by the way, I told this I told this story to Nola. He looked at me and he goes, yeah, thanks for getting me the job, which was total bullcrap because I didn't talk to anybody. I just think it's weird that was happening in the world and it ended up being something that happened. Like, it was just weird. I felt like, am I living in the Twilight Zone? This is just strange. But it's really cool. And Will, quickly, I forget what the first thing you asked me was.
Oh, what were you most impressed with Jerry on Saturday?
That's
10 of 16 on third downs. I was floored with what we were seeing.
And they should have gotten the fourth down. That was a beautiful call to Anthony Woods. So here's my analogy, and it's been this way all day, and I don't think enough people understand this. Coordinators, I think a lot of times today act like they're playing a video game. especially in the era of like you go up and you fake the cadence and then you look over at the sideline and then the coach sees the defense and they call the play. I've never loved that. I grew up in an era where the coach told me if you need to make it audible, make it audible. Like if you see a weakness in the defense, you change it. And that's kind of how I was raised. But good coordinators know how to sequence plays. They know how to set things up. They know how to attack a defense. They know how to make their like if the line hasn't been doing great, what can I do to make life easier for them? Whether it's chipping someone, keeping someone in, getting the ball out quicker. And we saw all of these things. We saw a game plan that worked. Well, how do I slow down a pass rush? Well, we establish a run game. Like we make them worry about multiple things. And so a lot of guys carry, and you see this in the NFL too. They walk around with their big, laminated sheet, and they've got all these plays, and they're walking around like, I'm so smart, I'm so smart, I'm so smart. Well, all of those plays, if they're called in the right sequence at the right time against the right defense, are probably wonderful if your players execute them. But some people are so much better at knowing when to call plays. The Andy Reids of the world, right?
Yeah.
They're brilliant at knowing when to call plays. And so what Jerry showed me was a guy, and again, I'm going to go back to this. I guarantee you he's gone through in his brain a million times of how he would call a game. I guarantee you even when he's on the sidelines coaching the tight ends, and again, this isn't being negative, but he's probably like, I wouldn't have called that there, or I would have called this there, or I'd have done this here, or here's how I fix this problem. Why aren't we running the ball more? Like that stuff all goes on in your head. And so like, he was prepared for this moment, but now hear me out. Moving, because that's what impressed me the most, just the way and the timing of how he called plays and how quickly he put this game plan together against an elite defense. Here's where we're going to learn the most, and I really think he's ready for this. I remember I played quarterback, and again, I'm going to go Uncle Rico on you guys again. So on our championship run, we had to travel to Corvallis. And back in those days, Corvallis was like playing on cement. The field was domed so much that when you threw a ball to the outside, you're like, why am I throwing it over everybody's head? It's because they're 4 feet below you on the sidelines. And we won a game 20-17. And my joke's always been, we ran to the buses and left town as fast as we could because we stole one. And they were crappy back then. Like this was like they were still running weird, but they were running a defense that I had never seen before. It was weird. It was like there was way too many people on one side, not enough people on the other side. And it was so different than what I had seen before. I'm like, I don't know really what to do. And it showed. We were averaging close to 40, and we only scored 20 against those guys. And it was just a weird day, and we survived it. Jerry is going to have some moments moving forward where they're going to get stuck, where they're going to have some, and again, maybe on the road, like, and I need to say this too, the UCLA fans, and I don't care, all you people out there that make fun of our fan base, I don't care if it was 39 or 40,000 or whatever it was a great 39 or 40,000. They were there. There was a third down or two that I'm like, they made a difference where Penn State messed up. It mattered. But now remember, when we go on the road in the Big Ten, we're gonna see some stadiums with some people. There's going to be some noise. There are going to be some people that care about their team. How is this team going to react? How are they going to handle it? What's going to happen when some defenses are being called and it's not working? How are we going to adjust? I mean, that to me going forward is, I talked to Tim Skipper. He told us the whole breakdown about the taking the safety. So I'm not going to lie to you. When that happened, Matt Stevens had said it in the booth, and I went, ooh, really? Do you want to give it where they can go down and score real quick and win the game? And I hadn't processed it. When I asked Tim Skipper about it, he said, I was thinking about that on first down. And I went, gosh darn you, that a boy. Because that's what a head coach does. He's not thinking about just the timeouts they have. He's thinking about after the timeouts are called, what are we going to do when it's time to punt? And he had already formulated that plan. And looking back on it, with the times, it was brilliant. It was so smart. It took out the block. He even talked about how the quarterback went into the boundary. I mean, the punter went into the boundary instead of towards someone that could rush him. And he said that was spot him a couple more seconds. And so all of that stuff was brilliant. And I'm sitting there going, this is a coach that knows his stuff, because that doesn't come up every day. And for him to be thinking about a first down made me so excited. So they're going to have more of these moments. Jerry's going to have more of these moments. Remember, on one side, you have Kevin Coyle, who's been around. He's seasoned, okay? But on the other side, you have Jerry, who's still young, but he's also got Noel, right? And I thought it was interesting. I thought Noel would be in the booth.
Yeah.
I kind of thought he was going to be the eye in the sky and give it, but he wasn't. He was right down there with them, and I kind of like that. So anyway, there'll be bumps in the road, and I'm excited. I think that's what I'm excited to see how we handle it. I really am. I'm excited to see how the team handles success. I'm excited to see how the coaches handle success. Like all of this stuff, I'm excited to see it. I can't wait.
No, cannot wait indeed, Wayne. And always such an absolute joy and pleasure to have you. And before we sign out, friends, obviously we got to pay the bills around here. You see the Sleeper app on the bottom. Use that promo code UCLA LAFB. Get $100 off your match bonus. You bet 100, you get 100 free. This year, millions of users enjoyed playing fantasy sports on Sleeper, but the app offers so much more. Live stats, real-time updates, and visualization on all stats. You got your news feed and that real-time chat. Engage with other users about individual plays and performances during the NFL and NBA seasons. Download the #1 sports app today and experience it for yourself. Well, Wayne, we're going to sign off, and you said it best, the excitement. The exuberance is back in this team and in this season and in this fan base. And I can think of no better way than to end the show, as we always do, in channeling our inner Silver Fox. Be loud, be proud, be passionate, Bruins. And as always, fours up forever.